Welcome to the world of the Sharp Meetup Table and Remind Me Care, also known as REMI. There's no doubt that the Meetup Table is a great product. It's fun, it's enjoyable to use, and it's easy to adopt. But it's not as easy to sell as you might first think. Here's the first issue. Which is the Meetup? Is it a must-have or is it a nice-to-have? I think it's pretty clear it's a nice-to-have. And indeed, REMI is the same. It's not something that a care home has to have, but there are reasons why a care facility, care home, daycare centre, memory clinic, hospital should have both the Meetup and REMI. And that's what we're going to explore. And to do that, we need to first look at the industry. The care industry is coming out of care crisis, recession, and of course it's suffering from the impacts of Brexit on many levels, including staffing, and doesn't have a lot of money to use. Indeed, it's very nervous about using technology, which has the potential not to be successful, and they have little time for adopting new systems that can cause disruption to their existing practices. And again, they're not keen on spending money. And not surprisingly, you'll find that there are rivals, those companies that are selling alternative touch tables, such as Tovatafel, that's doing well in the care sector, touch table, the OmniVista Mobi. And if you explore them, you'll find that they're very different from the Meetup in that they are often fixed to the ground, not movable, are not cloud-based, and have a fixed number of apps that are usable, and most importantly, they don't collect data. In other words, they don't know who's playing, they don't know who enjoyed it and who didn't enjoy it, and they don't evidence that that activity took place because they don't have Remind Me Care. But the rivals are doing well, so of course the aim is to differentiate the Meetup table from them, and of course Remind Me Care is one of the very strong ways of doing that. So the good news is that the care world does have problems. And if you can address those problems, then you've got a better chance of getting a sale. And of course, then if you can prove that you can solve some of those problems, then the Meetup will become a must-have. So what are those key problems? Well, it depends on the nature of the care facility, but very popular these days is building new care facilities. And of course, if you built a new building, it's got no residents, zero occupancy. Care facilities, once a year or perhaps less regularly in some cases, are visited by the CQC, the Care Quality Commission, equivalent to Ofcom, Ofgem, and they're very onerous in their inspections. GDPR is an issue in terms of using personal data of the residents, and of course, as I mentioned, Brexit has a huge impact on staff turnover. Difficulty engaging with family is always a problem. They can be quite onerous in terms of their expectations on the care home staff. And of course, there's increasing competition every day. When it comes to the must-haves, a care home must evidence its therapy. It must record clinical data. It needs to improve its care ratings with the CQC. The higher the rating, the better chance of achieving a good level of occupancy, because care homes are like hotels. They're looking to have 100% occupancy, and that's achieved by having a good reputation and a good CQC inspection. They must engage with family, and of course the bottom line is they must save and make money. So if a product in any way addresses any of those and produces a product outcome, a beneficial outcome for that product, then it becomes a must-have. And that's what we're going to achieve by combining Remind Me Care with the Meetup Touch table. Put the two together, they become a must-have. But first, let's explore a little bit what REMI actually is. REMI, by definition, is activity-based software. In care homes, there's lots of care planning software that deals with clinical matters such as medication and health conditions, but REMI is purely about activity. It doesn't hold any medical records. Basically, it enables a carer to deliver enhanced person-centered care and improves carer engagement by delivering bespoke digital activities. And one of its unique elements is that on the back of the delivery of those activities, it captures outcomes. It captures likes, dislikes, moods, habits, well-being, preferences, memories, life story, family engagement, and we call that ELR, electronic life records. So the heart of Remind Me Care is not only that it delivers activities, but that it improves person-centered care. And person-centered care is the mantra of any care facility, whether it's a hospital ward or a daycare centre, or indeed the NHS itself. And person-centered care is critical. Person-centered care was defined by a professor at Bradford University called Thomas Kitwood, and numerous models have been created since. And Remind Me Care has been built in partnership with Professor Dawn Booker and other associates using their models of care. So its strategy, its methods of delivering care are based on the work and experience and expertise of the greats in the world of person-centered care. But whilst person-centered care is not unique, albeit the techniques that Remind Me Care, REMI, uses to enhance delivery are cutting edge, the collection of data on the back of delivery of person-centered care is unique, and the electronic life records data set that's captured by REMI is proprietary and unique. And critically, it enables managing data in a manner that achieves GDPR compliance for the care facility, which of course is critical these days. Care facilities are very concerned about how they use personal data about their residents, and REMI provides them with compliance, which is a powerful asset for REMI and the table to be able to provide. Another USP for REMI is that it's being used across the full length of the care journey, from diagnosis to end of life. And the system is taken by the family and the person, if they have capacity, with them as they make that care journey, and they make available the knowledge of the person that is changing and growing all the time, being captured within REMI and indeed via the usage of the Meetup touch table. And that knowledge is changing all the time as the person's capacity, cognitive capacity, changes, making it always relevant to whatever care facility they encounter along the care journey. And the phraseology we use, the pitch we use, if you like, is that if you want to be known socially, you use Facebook. If you want to be known in the business world, you use LinkedIn. But if you want to be known from diagnosis to end of life for who you are, your likes, dislikes, preferences, moods, habits, well-being, family, memories, then you use Remind Me Care. And Remind Me Care stays with you along that care journey, with you making the knowledge of yourself available to each care facility. And of course, as that person encounters those care facilities, any one of these care facilities, from assisted living through to hospital, would benefit from using the touch table, and of course from having REMI in the system being able to evidence activities. Basically, the term we use is that in the care industry, it's not Intel inside, it's REMI inside. And just to conclude, here we can see some typical screens from within REMI, showing the life story of the person, recent musical activities undertaken, some physical non-digital activities that have been recorded in the system, a range of activities that are bespoke to the interests of the person, the care circle of family members, and a calendar showing all activities. Demo videos of using REMI are available on the resource website pages, but for the moment we're going to continue looking at some of the sales processes that are most effectively deployed when selling REMI alongside the Meetup table. By now you've probably looked at Remi and you've found that it's simple, easy to use and seemingly unsophisticated, but it should be noted that it's highly robust. It has G-Cloud, government, procurement and NHS approval. We're partnered with Amazon. We've been invested in by some of the largest domiciliary care businesses in the country. We have NHS Digital, EMIS approvals and rank 87% on the ORCA app rating. Our test bed for hospital use is Kingston Hospital, and we work with the leading consultancy in the UK, CETA, and are partnered with Worcester University, the Association for Dementia Studies, Professor Dawn Brooker. And we are fully qualified with all requirements such as ICO and other requirements such as NHS Digital. So it's a robust system that is approved for use along the full care journey, and indeed is the first app to be GP prescribable. So when it comes to selling Remi, it can be presented as being not just an app, but something that qualifies as being clinically robust. In fact, Remi is the first digitherapeutic, which means that it has an emerging evidence base that validates it as a alternative or complement to medication to reduce agitation for the. And now a little bit on the market, which is a bit larger than probably one realizes. 18,000 care homes, and they can be divided very broadly into three segments. 33% that are family run, family size, 1 to 3 care homes. Another 33% that are up to 10 care homes, maybe 20 care homes in a group that are still family run and which decision-making process is relatively easy. And the third category is the large groups, the Bupas, HC1s, Care UKs, that have hundreds of care homes. And of course, where the decision-making process is complex and time consuming. All of them are valid to target, but of course, the runway for closure takes much longer with the large groups. We are happy to provide you with information should you have clients which you'd like to learn more about. We've been working with many care homes and know a lot about each of the care homes and their current status when it comes to adopting technology, and this is the key, and indeed the key individuals that are responsible for making those decisions. We have a database that has tracked those decision makers as they've moved from group to group, so we're more than happy to take calls from anyone to support them in their care process with knowledge. Assisted living is a growing sector. Care homes are well, I won't say shrinking, but the duration of stay of a resident in a care home has now dropped down to about 1.5 years. So assisted living, maintaining people within a community, either purchased properties or otherwise, is a growing sector and ideal for the touch table because they have communal engagement areas. And the same for retirement villages, which are similar, but with less dementia present. Hospital trusts, hospital are a tough sector, but of course every care home or assisted living that you sell to, they all engage with hospitals. And indeed, they all want clients to come from hospitals to their facilities to increase their occupancy. So hospitals will take tables, and especially if they are seeing that their client base, care homes and assisted living retirement villages, are using tables and Remi as well. And we can talk more about that. Daycare centres, memory clinics are ideal markets for the table, but there you'll find that cost is a big factor, and they will seek to raise money from charities to be able to purchase. And of course, the lease becomes particularly significant there. It's our belief that selling Remi and the table together will make the sale process for a table far easier. And of course, the same for Remi. So to sell them both together, effectively bundled, is the ideal way forward. Why? Well, if you try to sell one table, it's going to cost whatever price you decide, but let's say £6,000, £7,000 or £8,000. And that's a lot of money to one care home. If it's a group with 10 care homes, they're going to want to have that table in all care homes. So you're now at 80,000. If it's a bigger group, the price goes up and up and up. And if you look at the return on investment for a meetup table, there is none. It's a fun to have, not a must have. And therefore, spending that sort of money can be difficult. Now, having said that, all care homes are looking at technology. All care homes want families to see entertainment such as tables. So yes, it's an easy sale, but much easier if you can show that purchasing a table actually will make money for the care home. So if you've got 10 homes and you can show the managers that they're going to make £80,000, £90,000 profit above the cost of the table, then obviously you've got a much easier sale. And as mentioned before, if you can show them that REMI and the table can address problems that that care home has, such as zero occupancy if it's a new build, assisting prove the quality of care delivered if it's a care home in CQC special measures, and so on and so forth, then you've certainly enhanced the chance for a sale. So we consider that the best way to sell both systems is to adopt the practice of spin selling, the consultative sale. In other words, know the client's problems and solve their problems, as opposed to pointing out the features and benefits of the table and of REMI. Be more targeted in having your knowledge of their needs be apparent. And well, this is the book that we've been using from day one. So what is the return on investment for investing in REMI and purchasing a table? Well, staff morale will be improved, and because all staff, especially younger staff, want to press buttons and use technology. Clients, families will certainly appreciate seeing the table in the reception area and have fun using it themselves. And of course, once they appreciate the power of REMI to connect them remotely with the activities undertaken by their loved one, that enhances the likelihood of that prospective client coming back to the care home. And we can talk a lot more about client acquisition, as it's a very strong module to talk about to prospective clients. We've mentioned CQC rating, efficiency of costs. One of the keys you'll have noticed that using REMI requires no real detailed note entry, unlike care planning software systems. And GDPR compliance, entertainment. We've talked about these, and if you go to the online resource, you'll see a Excel-based spread down of the return on investment for using the Meetup table and REMI that justifies a minimum return on investment of 8K. And that shows any viewer of this data that effectively the table comes for free and they'll be making a profit for the purchase. And if that message can be got across, then it's a much easier proposition to sell a rollout of tables and REMI across a group, because they're rolling out to not only improve technology, but to make a profit, as opposed to rolling out a nice to have entertainment. And here's an overview of some of the features and benefits that REMI can bring to a care facility, and which justify the statement that a minimum return on investment of 8K can be generated per care facility. Left-hand side shows the features and right-hand side shows the benefits. Therapy, entertainment, digital My Stories, these all achieve cost savings in terms of care delivery. They achieve staff engagement and staff retention results, and of course improved data collection enables improved activity reports. There's a client acquisition process, bottom left, which we can talk about in more detail, which enables assisting a care facility achieve more effective prospective client nurturing and acquisition. And the simple figures for a care home are that the average weekly cost is around a minimum really is £800 a week. So if one multiplies that by 52 and implies a 20% profit margin on top of that figure, you can see that each client that is bought to the care home, courtesy of either the client already using REMI as part of the care journey that they're already on, or with the care home giving them REMI when they first meet them, if REMI plays a role in the acquisition of that client, then that is worth many thousands of pounds. 3 or 4 clients that come to a care home because they like the idea of being remotely engaged using REMI as part of their decision-making process could generate 20, 30, 40,000 pounds for a care home. So REMI has a significant role to play in the bottom line of a care home. There's three final factors that need to be considered when selling the Meetup table and REMI. The first is the sales process. For selling a table is a relatively simple proposition. It's like walking into a mobile phone shop. You decide you want a phone, you check out the phones, and you'll probably come out with a phone having decided in the store which one you want. Organizations are considering buying a Meetup table, will have looked at others and will be deciding which one to buy. And they probably may have decided already that they want to buy one, but the issue will be the rollout across a group, courtesy of cost. The sales process, therefore, is important in that presenting a table will be generally undertaken in a demo with 3, 4, 5 elderly persons with dementia enjoying using it, and therefore it can be difficult to get across at that point the benefits of using REMI with the table, purchasing REMI at the same time, because there isn't enough opportunity to present the key propositions that I've just described to you in such a demo process. And therefore, it's important to know the hot buttons. Across this description previously are numerous hot buttons. And if you say to any care facility, knowing what their problems are, as I've described, it's a new build, therefore low occupancy, it's an old care home, therefore issues with the CQC, and so forth. If you've identified those hot buttons and can just mention them during the demo of the table, then the listeners, the care home managers, the carers, they know instantly what their problems are and they'll understand it. You won't need to make a full pitch of REMI, is my point. But if they see REMI, because you should ensure they see it, then you can either do a separate demo with the managers or, of course, ask us to do it, in which case we will undertake a remote demo of the system in a manner much as the videos that you can look at in the online resource. Now, once a care organisation, care home has decided they want to use REMI, unlike the table, which is an easy adoption, plug it in, turn it on and use it, pretty much, with REMI, they are going to want to consider trialing it, because whilst they may have during the demo, whether by yourselves or us, appreciated that it's powerful and can bring numerous benefits and indeed make a profit for them, they're still going to consider adoption issues. They're going to need to see whether their carers enjoy using REMI, whether it's worth bringing into play and maybe replacing existing processes. And trialing therefore needs to be undertaken. And again, that's something that we manage. So if you contact us saying that a client wants to trial REMI, then we will arrange that process and we'll define it to you. And it's a managed process, usually 4 weeks, in which during each week they are email nurtured with a training process that ensures adoption and ensures our knowledge of whether they are effectively both adopting and learning how to use the system. At the end of the 4 weeks, we report to you and to the client the quality of adoption, and then the proposition is they will have by then learned that REMI is powerful, can make money, and of course by making money, then the Meetup table plus REMI become a must-have and a return on investment proposition, enabling therefore a rollout of the table more easily across a group. Instead of it being a one table sale, it becomes a group sale. So the last factor is, of course, working with us. We are readily available for demos, for providing yourselves with information about clients, because we've had relationships with many of them, and we are very keen to hear from you. We're a great believer in the power of the story, not only since it's the heart of what REMI does, but it's the best way also to get across the capability of REMI. So I'm going to tell you 3 stories now, which you can skip, of course, if you want to, or use them in your method of selling. David visits the daycare centre regularly. He has mid-stage dementia, can become quite agitated, even aggressive. He's an ex-plumber and says the word tank a lot. So the carers built a reminiscence session of content in relation to plumbing, and with lots of pictures of water tanks. They played these reminiscence sessions to him, and Remind Me Care knows about his past and is able to know that he was probably around at the time during the war in a military capacity, and so played in the reminiscence session a picture of a tank, not a water tank, but a military tank. And David pointed at the screen and said MK6-29B. He quoted the serial number of a tank. The carer realized he was interested in tanks, changed direction in the reminiscence session and showed him lots of pictures of tanks. And he responded. She pressed one button and was able to auto email inform remote family of this discovery. And his brother in Auckland, that he hadn't seen for 20 years, remembered that David had been in the tank regiment just after the war for 6 months. And he uploaded a picture of David sitting on a tank gun barrel with his shirt off eating an ice cream. So when the carer, a week later, seeking to continue the engagement, ran the same reminiscence session, there was pictures of David sitting on his tank. And he engaged. Whenever he's agitated now, all you have to do is say to David, David, I understand you're in the tank regiment. And he straightens his back and says, I was, and starts to talk. If David was to go to Kingston Hospital, and you can Google Kingston Hospital Remind Me Care, he would be agitated at admission, but Kingston Hospital would be able to press a button and see the 6 things that David has been engaging with, 6 activities, 6 pieces of knowledge in the previous week. And they would talk to him. David, I understand you're in the tank regiment. And his agitation would reduce. They wouldn't have to medicate him. He would be able to be got into a bed where he would receive similar activities via Remy that he'd got in the daycare centre and at home. And the aim would be for an earlier discharge to take place back to the original point of care. So basically, Remy is a digitherapeutic that is carried along the care journey from home to daycare centre to hospital and back, and enables families to engage in this process. Maria is a carer in a care home, and we know that she was finding it tiring and distressing working with people with dementia and had decided to move on. But then she started working with Remy, with one of her residents, Peter, and she knew that he'd been a journalist, so she built a reminiscence session. And she discovered during that session that Peter had been a journalist on the beaches in the Philippines when the Americans were liberating her country from the Japanese. She explored this discovery and built a relationship with him such that she has taken him under her wing and is beginning to really enjoy her job and experience self-worth and value. She's still there. The care home haven't had to find someone else. Difficult to find staff in these Brexit times, and always there's a need to train new staff. So it's been a win-win-win for Maria, for David, and for the care facility. A while back, I held a reminiscence session in front of a room full of people with dementia, elderly persons, and carers. And I held a live conversation with them. And I asked the lady in the front row what her job had been. She said she'd been a nurse. And I asked her what her favorite memory of being a nurse was. And she said, I really enjoyed the nurses' uniforms. And perhaps somewhat naively, I entered nurses' uniforms into the search element of Remy. And well, you can imagine it. I got back some very interesting photographs. The system, Remy, obviously ensures that there's no dodgy content that comes back, but nurses' uniforms seems to be a bit of a crossover area. So a bit embarrassed, I said, well, we wouldn't save those images in the profile of any of the people here, and we'll move on. So we won't click this save button here. A voice piped up from the back of the room. I'd like to save that. And we all turned around and looked, and there was Stephen, a 94-year-old man who, as the carer nudged me in the ribs said, hadn't actually spoken for 4 months. He started to talk, and I carried on with the reminiscence session and quickly moved away from the topic, still embarrassed. But I went back there about a month later and asked how Stephen was doing, and they said, it's amazing. He started talking. It's fabulous. But the only problem is he's also started pinching our bottoms a lot. So this exemplifies that Remy can work in many different ways, but the power of communication is always at the core of all care. And never forget, care's about having fun. So when you demo Remy with the touch table, as I'm sure I don't have to tell you all, have fun, because that's what And if you've got through all of that, well then thank you. And rest assured, once you have learnt your way around REMI, it's pretty easy to use and pretty easy to sell to an audience that has a need. And coupled with the table, of course, there's the ideal package. We look forward to talking to you. Please don't hesitate to call us anytime. Thank you.